Hi everyone. It's a bit late and not our usual time, but for those of you who are just joining us, thank you for tuning in at this hour. We were traveling, and so we were not able to look at this story earlier in the day, but in a way, it's good that we waited because the detailed judgment of the Delhi High Court in the Delhi liquor scam case, as we now know it, has just been uploaded a short while ago. And I've been going through it, and it's extremely damning. It's a big blow, as it were, for Arvind Kejriwal, for the Aam Aadmi Party. In fact, his petition has been dismissed by the High Court, and there's several key findings, and I'm going to take you all through these key findings, and I'm looking forward to your comments and your questions and your feedback on what you think might happen next. So, what we do know is that the Delhi High Court, in its detailed verdict, has said that Arvind Kejriwal's arrest is not illegal. Now, remember, Abhishek Singhvi, Arvind Kejriwal's lawyer, has on Mojo story argued that he thought that the arrest was wholly illegal, and he believed that Arvind Kejriwal, when the enforcement directorate actually reached his residence, they were supposed to record his statement, they were supposed to talk to him, but they didn't do that. Instead, they took him away, and he was arrested right away. And Abhishek Singhvi has been arguing that this arrest was wholly illegal. Now, the High Court has actually disagreed with that entirely. And let me just take you through one of the points that the High Court made. The High Court spoke about what it called the repeated non compliance of summons. The judge held that this has been a contributing factor in the arrest. And the judge went on to elaborate that the very fact that Arvind Kejriwal was replying each time to these summons and saying that he believed them to be illegal, he was challenging them, did not constitute as any um, sort of joining the investigation, and the judge has held that the fact that Arvind Kejriwal did not comply with the summons was a big contributing factor in the fact that he was arrested. Now, why is this important? As I play images of Arvind Kejriwal, who spent the last few days appearing in one court appearance after the other, this is important because once again, Mr. Singhvi's lawyer, I beg your pardon, Mr. Kejriwal's lawyer, who is Abhishek Singhvi, he argued when I asked him, I said, look, do you think that your client, the Delhi chief minister, made a mistake by not showing up for the summons? And had he showed up for the summons, maybe he wouldn't have been arrested. And he said, look, that's a separate case. This is a separate case, and you can't conflate the two. But the judge has linked these two sort of facts in the judgment and said that the repeated non-compliance of summons was a contributing factor. The High Court has gone on to say that there's no separate treatment that is possible by virtue of the fact that Arvind Kejriwal is the Chief Minister of Delhi. And I said that the law cannot distinguish between a commoner and a Chief Minister. These are the details that are coming in. We've been going through this judgment. Now, although the court had the typical sort of health warning that all sort of petitions of this kind do, that no comments from the judge will be seen to be a comment on the merits of the guilt or innocence of Arvind Kejriwal when the case goes to trial, if the case goes to trial. The fact is that what's really damning and what's a big blow for the Aam Aadmi Party is the fact that the judge has said that, look, prima facie, there is enough material to suggest that the kickbacks that the Aam Aadmi Party has been accused of having received 100 crores kickbacks. That's the ED allegation in return for a liquor policy that favored a few vendors. The High Court has said that, look, just because the money was not recovered. Now, remember, the Aam Aadmi Party's central defense has been that पैसा कहाँ है? आप लोग इतने रेड्स कर लिए, आपने हमारे सारे लीडर्स अरेस्ट कर लिए, लेकिन पैसा कहाँ है? The judge was not convinced of this argument. And this is very important because when Sanjay Singh, Arvind Kejriwal's colleague, got bail, one of the things that the Supreme Court actually commented on when Sanjay Singh walked out was that money had not been found. This was said in open court by a Supreme Court judge. And I think the Aam Aadmi Party had possibly hope that what had applied to Sanjay Singh, and those are images of a jubilant Sanjay Singh as he came out after 6 months in prison, possibly the Aam Aadmi Party had hoped that जो संजय सिंह के केस में माना गया, at least at the level of the Supreme Court, when the Supreme Court observed that no money had been found, perhaps the same principle would apply now in the High Court, and the High Court might take its cue from what the Supreme Court had said whilst releasing Sanjay Singh on bail. But in this particular judgment of the Delhi High Court, the judge is not at all convinced about the argument made by the AAP lawyers that no money was found. In fact, the judge goes on to say that the judge is convinced that there is prima facie material of the laundering of kickbacks, and basically implies that the prima facie material suggests that this money that has not been found, that was allegedly received as kickbacks, the AAP denies this, has been spent on the Aam Aadmi Party's Goa campaign. The judgment then goes on to say that prima facie, Arvind Kejriwal is involved both personally and as a convener, a national convener of the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, these are strong words coming from Justice Swarnakanta Sharma. The verdict is a big blow to the AAP's hope for Kejriwal's early release. Of course, the Supreme Court is still there for its doors to be knocked on. And of course, the Aam Aadmi Party will be hoping that the Supreme Court will go the same way in Arvind Kejriwal's case as it did with Sanjay Singh. Remember, Sanjay Singh there's no restriction on his political activities. When he walked out, there were celebrations, and the Aam Aadmi Party perhaps thought that it has turned a crisis in this corner. In fact, interestingly, one of the things that Sanjay Singh did was to go and meet the women, the wives of his arrested colleagues, Manish Sisodia's wife, as well as Arvind Kejriwal's wife. And Sunita Kejriwal, of course, we've seen be in some ways the public face, even at that big India Alliance rally that took place in support of Kejriwal. She was seated right next to Sonia Gandhi, and many have been wondering whether she might become an interim sort of chief minister, and whether that would be acceptable to the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, the reason I'm raising all of this again is that once again, after this judgment has come, this scathing judgment, questions are being asked as to whether, at least for now, Arvind Kejriwal will resign, and the Aam Aadmi Party will choose another leader, because how long can Arvind Kejriwal run the government from jail? His lawyers say that though this is uncharted territory, there is no legal bar on this happening. But let me take you through another very, very important part of the judgment, and then if you have questions and comments, I can see some coming in. We'll try and look at those. One of the key allegations of the opposition has been to join the dots between electoral bonds and this case. So, as all of you know, we've been reporting on a pharmaceutical company called Aurobindo Pharma. This company is an accused turned approver in this particular case, and the AAP says that it's entirely the statement of Sharath Reddy, who's the promoter of Aurobindo Pharma, that his statement, he was an accused and that he became an approver, that is responsible in large part for Arvind Kejriwal being arrested. And they point to the fact that Aurobindo Pharma purchased close to 60 crores of bonds, electoral bonds for the BJP, 50 crores of which were purchased actually on one single day through Aurobindo Pharma and its affiliated companies. Now, what is important is that the judge, the Delhi High Court judge, while dismissing Arvind Kejriwal's petition, does not accept this argument of a compromised approver, and goes on to actually say very specifically on the electoral bonds, who purchases bonds for whom is not a concern of the court. So, the AAP had two main arguments when it was saying that the case, in a way, that is being built against Arvind Kejriwal is being built on the back of, men who were accused in the same case, who were in fact accused of being part of the cartel that had allegedly given these kickbacks, 100 crores of them. And then they had turned approval. And the AAP has been making the argument that there is a conflict here. One is the conflict of the electoral bonds and Aurobindo Pharma. And the other, they have said, is a conflict involving a man called Magunta Reddy. Magunta Reddy is again the father of one of the accused turned approvers, and he has been given a ticket by the TDP in these elections. And the TDP, as we know, is an ally of the BJP, a partner of the BJP. And the Aam Aadmi Party is saying, look, this whole thing is compromised. The court has not accepted that. The court has said, we are not concerned with Magunta Reddy. We're not concerned with electoral bonds. The concept of approvers is an age-old legal concept, and we believe that at this stage, the fact that the ED has focused only on the last statement, let's say, of a Sharath Reddy or a Magunta Reddy, but not on the previous statements, all that can't be brought up at this stage. All of that will have to come up at the stage of the trial. So this is what the court has held. It's not a good day for Arvind Kejriwal. And let me see if there are any specific questions. If any of you think, um, and I'm not going to actually take any abusive comments. Somebody is writing, Barkha is crying now. I am not crying. I am simply doing my job. Uh, as journalists, we have no skin in the game. When it comes to any particular party, our job is to place all of the facts unvarnished before you, our audience, and for you to make up your own mind as to whether justice has been served. But if you're just joining us, we are taking your questions and comments on that big Delhi High Court judgment that has come in, the details of which have only just moments ago been uploaded, and I'm taking you through them. And once again, if you have questions or comments on whether you believe this will either hurt or help Arvind Kejriwal's political brand in election season, keep those comments coming. Kejriwal's arrest is not illegal. The Delhi High Court has held on the liquor arrest. The court has damned and slammed Arvind Kejriwal for the repeated non-compliance of summons, dismissing the argument made by his lawyer, who's also a senior Congress leader himself, Abhishek Singhvi, who argued that you can't conflate the non-compliance of summons with this particular case. The court then went on to say that there can be no separate treatment or protocol for a chief minister. The court accepted at a prima facie level that there seemed to be enough material to suggest that the money that had been received by the Aam Aadmi Party, this is the allegation of the ED. The reason it hasn't been recovered in raids on Manish Sisodia, Arvind Kejriwal, and others is because it's been laundered prima facie in the Goa campaign. The court then went on to say that prima facie, Arvind Kejriwal is involved both personally and as an Aam Aadmi Party convener. The judge is Justice Swarnakanta Sharma, and the verdict is as I've been saying, a big blow to the Aam Aadmi Party's hope for Kejriwal's release. The AAP was obviously hoping that once Sanjay Singh, Arvind Kejriwal's colleague, had been released by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said in open court that they, where's the money? Have you found anything? That would be the cue that the High Court would take. That did not happen. The court has also dismissed the entire debate, at least in a legal, the moral debate may continue, but the court legally has dismissed the attempt to join dots between conflicts of interest, the men who were accused in the same case, who've turned approvers, the fact that one of them bought bonds for the BJP, not alone for the BJP, but a sizable amount, nearly 60 crores for the BJP, 50 crores of them on a single day, that the other is fighting these elections on a TDP ticket, and the AAP says that's a conflict because the TDP is an ally of the BJP. The court isn't looking at any of this at all through a legal prism. So the AAP's sort of option now, obviously, is to go through the Supreme Court. But I am wondering if you're now going to see Sunita Kejriwal perhaps take on a more formal role. The Aam Aadmi Party has continued to maintain that Arvind Kejriwal is not going to resign. His lawyers have continued to maintain that there is no bar at all legally on him running the government from jail. But what are you thinking? Do any of you have any questions? Nilesh Mahajan says, what does it have to do with electoral bonds? So let me try and answer that. Basically, the Aam Aadmi Party has argued that there is a company called Aurobindo Pharma. Its promoter is a man called Sharath Reddy. Sharath Reddy wasn't accused in the same case, and he spent several months in jail, and then he became an approver in the case. And basically, the company that he owns has purchased bonds up to 60 crores, 50 crores of which was on a single day after he became approver. And the AAP is arguing that that's a clear kind of conflict of interest because those 60 crores have gone to the BJP. However, the court has not accepted that. The court says that it is not the court's job to get into who purchases bonds from whom, and they have not accepted that argument that has been made. All right. Someone is asking me, Kejriwal, is it clear that in courts that Kejriwal has accepted that a ghotala happened, but that he was not part of it? Can you clear this? This is an interesting question because the Delhi liquor policy, or the Delhi liquor scam as we now know it, this is a policy which was taken back by the Aam Aadmi Party government. And they have not actually ever accepted that there was a scam because they do not accept that their policy was designed to favor a cartel in return for which they received 100 crores in kickbacks. But it's an interesting question because uh, if they don't if they don't accept the entire premise, then what is this case all about? Well, that's for the court to decide at trial stage, right? Um, Rajesh Dhingra says that in Sanjay Singh's case, the judge said that the ED has given a concession. Now, Rajesh, as you know, that was in the context of the fact that the ED did not oppose Sanjay Singh's bail in the Supreme Court. But do remember that at that time, the Supreme Court judge was already saying in open court that you have not, please remember the prima facie, you have not found anything. Now, the judge in this case at the Delhi High Court has taken a very different position. This judge is saying that it doesn't matter whether no money has been found in these raids because prima facie, the judge has accepted the Enforcement Directorate's argument that the money has not been found in these raids because the money has in fact been laundered in the AAP's Goa campaign. So that is the difference between what happened in the Supreme Court and what happened in the High Court. Now, NVR says, what's the next step for Arvind Kejriwal? Now, isn't that the $1 million question? I don't know. I think it would depend on the timelines of how fast or slow they can get or not get reprieve in the Supreme Court. If, for example, they use the Sanjay Singh intervention by the Supreme Court as some sort of precedent and say Sanjay Singh was allowed out of jail, his political activities have not been restricted. The Supreme Court itself has held that prima facie money has not been found. Very different argument from the one taken by the Delhi High Court. And if things move quickly, then I don't think Arvind Kejriwal will resign. But I think if things drag on, then that is the question before the Aam Aadmi Party, because the Aam Aadmi Party has to remember that it has to focus on keeping its flock together, right? Its key leader is in, two of its key leaders, Manish Sisodia and Arvind Kejriwal, are in jail. Its leaders in Punjab, two of them have already been poached, a member of parliament and an MLA. And so, there are those like Ashutosh, a former colleague of Arvind Kejriwal, who said to me in an interview that, they should just have an interim leader. They need a leader because their focus should be on basically holding the party together. Shivam Singh is asking me, do you think the AAP can split? Again, Shivam, I think right now the AAP sees itself as the underdog. Even politically, it's got the India Alliance galvanizing the entire opposition, coming together. And if you remember those pictures that we also saw, you saw Sunita Kejriwal seated next to Sonia Gandhi. Suddenly, the AAP acquiring a completely different political profile, becoming a kind of galvanizing point. There she is with the wife of Hemant Soren, another jailed chief minister, except he resigned before he was taken in by the Enforcement Directorate. I believe that the AAP has shown a degree of vulnerability in Punjab. And you have to remember that this is not just a story about Delhi, it's also a story about Punjab, it's also a national story. But I think the AAP might be calculating that right now maybe there's political benefit, maybe there's a sympathy vote, maybe some people are seeing Arvind Kejriwal as a victim here. And so I think we have to watch this space. There's no immediate honest answer that I can give you on that. I think a lot depends on on the timelines. Mr. Chandrakant Marathe says it's a sad day for me. I don't understand that comment. What does it have to do with me, other than the fact that I am reporting this story now? This is an important question. Saurabh Gilani says, where does this leave Kejriwal and the AAP's Lok Sabha campaign? All of their energies are focused on this issue rather than being on the ground campaigning. Also, someone like Raghav Chadda has been MIA. Raghav Chadda has been away in England, apparently for an eye surgery, and has not come back. There are whispers that suggest that Raghav Chadda expected to be arrested next in this case, so we don't know. Sandeep Monangi says choosing his wife as a kind of successor is not expected from Arvind Kejriwal. We've been repeatedly asking the Aam Aadmi Party why Sunita Kejriwal has become the face of all of the public proclamations that are coming on behalf of Arvind Kejriwal. She's not even, a politician as we know it, and why her? And the answer that they give again and again, Sandeep, is that she's the only one who has daily access to meeting with Arvind Kejriwal, and that is the reason why she's the best equipped to sort of be the face in of what the AAP is trying to say at this moment. Okay, Tarun Yadav says, where is Raghav Chadda? I think we've already had that question being asked before. Not that I know for sure, but as far as we know, he's in the United Kingdom. There seems to be some sort of perception that he has that he would could be the next person to be arrested. All right. Now, how will AAP be able to justify the comments made today by the judge to gain any sympathy? Look, it all depends on what happens in the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court goes the way it did in the Sanjay Singh case and gives Kejriwal bail and lets him out um, before the Lok Sabha elections, and all this happens reasonably quickly, then I think it plays out very differently. But I think if it carries on for months, then again it's a very very different situation. Mr. Shastri says, if this crisis drags on post the elections, do you see the AAP Punjab split? And that's a very important question, because I think that's where the real vulnerability is. We were just talking about how the AAP has already lost a member of parliament, its lone Lok Sabha member of parliament in Punjab, who joined the BJP, and an MLA as well. Siddharth Nair says, I don't blame Raghav. Life is too short to be arrested for something like politics. And so, well, uh, we'll have to wait and see, and we'll have to wait to hear from Raghav Chadda. Why is he not here? The people I've been speaking to in the Aam Aadmi Party, they won't say this on camera, but they do suggest that Raghav Chadda anticipated that he would be arrested next. Okay, the same Supreme Court, Uday says, did not give bail to Manish Sisodia yet. That is correct. But again, I want to say that a lot hinges on how a judge looks at the question of where's the money trail? Is there a money trail? Has the ED established a money trail? The Delhi High Court accepts the argument of the ED that there is a money trail, and that you physically not recovered money doesn't matter, because prima facie, the Delhi High Court judgment says that the money has been laundered in by the AAP's Goa campaign. The Supreme Court did not seem convinced by that argument. So obviously, AAP is going to hope now that the Supreme Court will deliver what the High Court didn't. Bhavik Trivedi says, what could be the potential implication of this High Court order on the governance of Delhi and the AAP's future political strategies? You know what? It's a great question. Every AAP leader that I speak to says Arvind Kejriwal won't resign. But again, if this drags on, how long can Arvind Kejriwal A, run government from jail? B, how long can his party be distracted by this issue? Is Delhi headed towards Rabri Devi rule or governor's rule? By Rabri Devi rule, I assume that you mean a metaphor where the wife steps in to hold the government together. That is a reference to Lalu Prasad Yadav's wife, Rabri Devi, who has done this before, or governor's rule. There is one conspiracy theory that the AAP may be virtually daring the center to impose president's rule, and that would solidify their position as a political underdog. And I'm not sure either is going to happen. I think in the immediate, the AAP is going to hang on to its its belief that Arvind Kejriwal does not need to resign. And please remember that the courts have thrown out petitions that have been saying Arvind Kejriwal should be made to resign. And in fact, in the last PIL that came in that was asking Arvind Kejriwal to resign, the court said if you bring this petition again, we will impose. Impose a punishment. Rajesh, you're making the same point again and again. It mentioned that ED has given concession. Please read the bail judgment. I understand what you're saying. I am just saying that in this case, the High Court did not take its cue from what the Supreme Court did in the Sanjay Singh case. Rajat Mishra says in another episode of Conspiracy Theories, what does the BJP gain from all of this? Well, the BJP clearly hopes to keep the AAP distracted. Talk about how a party that was birthed by an anti-corruption movement is today in the dock facing allegations of corruption. Um, in Punjab, we have seen a Lok Sabha member of parliament of the AAP cross over and join the BJP. The AAP is now vulnerable to poaching. So it benefits the BJP in all ways unless the people or the public at large is silently, and I'm saying silently because we've not seen any visible street protests except for that one big rally organized by the India Alliance, um, unless there's a huge amount of sympathy for Arvind Kejriwal. But do remember that Delhi is a place where the people vote quite interestingly. They have voted in large numbers at local levels, local elections, state elections for Arvind Kejriwal, and in equally large numbers for the BJP and Prime Minister Modi at the Lok Sabha elections. The Lok Sabha elections is what is coming first. Uh, could there be an impact, especially given the seat sharing between the Congress and the AAP? And if not, then the assembly elections are just too far. They're 1 year away for it to be a factor. Um, all right. Kejriwal being in jail, Saurabh says, may have a higher impact on AAP as a party rather than the governance of Delhi, as he anyways did not hold any portfolios. I tend to agree with that. I think that the government had diminished powers, and I think this was really about the Aam Aadmi Party and what political narrative it is going to build here onwards. Can it reinvent itself on the back of this arrest, or does it get completely weakened if this carries on? Okay, is it possible, Tarun Yadav asked, that there's a power tussle going on within the Aam Aadmi Party? Look, nobody's going to say this officially. At the moment, they're all rallying behind Arvind Kejriwal. But it is true that if Miss Kejriwal, Mr. Kejriwal's wife, is made the leader of the AAP or the chief minister, I'm not sure that the party would necessarily be very happy with that. They would argue that there are many more qualified Aam Aadmi Party politicians who should be given that role. But again, isn't it all theoretical? Girish Acharya says, is he not using Sunita as the voice for sympathy? Yes. I mean, it depends on your point of view. As I said, there are people who have looked at, the images of Sunita Kejriwal with Sonia Gandhi, or the images of Sunita Kejriwal with Kalpana Soren, the wife of Hemant Soren, and this image has really gone viral, and it is helping the opposition build some sort of political narrative. But do also remember that Manish Sisodia has been inside for such a long time, and as when things drag on at a very slow pace, for anybody, a powerful person like Arvind Kejriwal, but especially for a commoner, the process can become the punishment. Arshab Agarwal, should BJP be given a taste of its own medicine if it loses and the opposition comes to power? I don't believe that any party should be actually treated with vendetta. But that's me, and I'm not in politics. Thank God for that, because I would not survive a day. Shantanu says, I'm surprised that people don't see through the facade that all parties portray. And that's spoken like a cynical voter. Okay, we have a couple of more minutes. If you've just joined us, let me take you very quickly through what's happened in the High Court. The High Court has rejected Arvind Kejriwal's petition for bail. It says that Kejriwal's arrest is not illegal. It mentions Kejriwal's refusal to comply with the summons as a contributing factors. It says there can be no separate treatment or protocol for a CM. It rejects the idea or the argument made by the AAP's legal team, saying no paisa has been found in all of these raids, saying prima facie there's material that this money was laundered or funneled into Goa, and it's all been spent. Very damagingly for Arvind Kejriwal, the court says prima facie Kejriwal is involved both personally and as an AAP convener. It also rejects all the public debate, at least through a legal prism, around electoral bonds and there being a conflict of interest in the testimony of one of the key accused having turned approver and also being someone who bought bonds to the tune of nearly 60 crores for the BJP. I have a couple of more minutes. Let's see if we can take a couple of more questions. Cynical Singh thinks that AAP will break into pieces. We have to see. I think the vulnerability of the AAP is a real issue. And yeah, who can replace Kejriwal? I don't know. I mean, Arvind Kejriwal is very much the man is the message. It would be like asking the BJP today who can replace Narendra Modi. There are individuals around whom parties are built, and Arvind Kejriwal very clearly is that brand. So I think that I would say no one right now. Sai Kiran has a question on why the Congress is not contesting as a single party following this case. And I think someone else, Don Quixote, has a similar question. Congress looks weak in following AAP, who destroyed them. The Congress had to work very hard at the central level to convince its local leadership to actually go along with the seat-sharing alliance. And that was before this whole story broke. But I think at the moment, the opposition is trying to come together on this issue, and that's why the Big India Alliance rally. I don't know that there's any evidence to show that the Congress would do significantly better if it contested alone. Remember, the BJP swept the Lok Sabha last time, and then the AAP and the Congress are just cutting their losses and thinking that maybe 1 or 2 seats could be saved if they come together in a seat-sharing arrangement. Okay, we are going to end here. There are lots more questions that are coming. Krishna ji, I'll end with that. Do you think the AAP has become like any other party? Well, I'm not an Aam Aadmi Party member, but I can certainly quote those. I was interviewing Ashutosh, who's a journalist or politician turned journalist again. And in his podcast, he said to me that he thought that Arvind Kejriwal had just become like everybody else. And that was his comment. And maybe that's what politics does. Maybe it devours you. Maybe it changes you, or maybe you have to be of a certain kind to enter politics at all. I don't know the answer to that, Krishna, but it's an interesting question. And as they say, we're going to have to watch this space. We'll have more details and a fuller discussion on this tomorrow. But thank you for staying with us at this late hour and going through the key points of the judgment. We'll try and do this every few days, just go through the news with all of you and take your comments and questions. It's been fun interacting. Thank you for those of you who stayed up past 11. I'm going to get some sleep now, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.
Mojo Story has always made a commitment to its viewers to go to where the story is. And as you can see here, we are at the epicenter of the Israel war on Gaza. We are right at the front line, about 1 mile from the Gaza Strip, as the Israeli military gets ready with its tanks and its gunners to begin its final frontal assault that will take troops into Gaza. As we said, we are not like other organizations. We believe in giving you all sides of the story objectively and as much as possible from the ground. And that's exactly what we're doing here, covering the biggest global story today from the epicenter of the war zone. So please, we need your support. Support us, become a Mojo member, subscribe to us, spread the word, and thank you for your support.